So I came across this video of some guy named V, and he was breaking down a Young Turks video about affirmative action, that because the Supreme Court is recently ruling on that, and there's this blockbuster case that's going on right now, where really the girl didn't have good enough grades to get in, but that's not talked about. She's basically now the poster girl for this whole affirmative action movement. But really what angered me here is the fact that, and I see this all the time, people will use Martin Luther King Jr. for their narrative without being accurate, basically by lying. So check it out here.
She viewed the multicultural utopia, because the way Martin Luther King would view it is a place where people stop judging each other based on their color of the skin and judge each other based on their character, based on their merit. Now,
he quotes Martin Luther King, of course, Martin Luther King Jr. saying that you should judge someone by the content of his character, not by the color of his skin. But that is a more overlying quote. And this is the problem, okay? It feels to me like people have only read or heard from him his I Have a Dream speech. Martin Luther King was not, that's not his whole life. His whole life was not one speech. If you recall, he was very anti-Vietnam War. He was massively socialist, and he was very pro-affirmative action, and many, many different things like that. He's much more than just I Have a Dream, Martin Luther King Jr. He is, I'm anti-Vietnam War, Martin Luther King Jr. You know, I want to help all the disadvantaged of all races, as I'm going to break down to you. But here's some quotes to prove my point here. He said, in his book, Why We Can't Wait, King wrote, quote, "Whenever the issue of compensatory treatment for the Negro is raised, some of our friends recoil in horror. The Negro should be granted equality. They agree, but he should ask nothing more. On the surface, this appears reasonable, but it is not realistic." Then a biographer quoted King saying, quote, "A society that has done something special against the Negro for hundreds of years must now do something special for the Negro," which sounds extremely rational and commonsensical to me, honestly. And again, you know, this idea that there was, you know, this one Martin Luther King Jr., everything defined by him is that I Have a Dream speech. Anybody who only has heard anything in there knows nothing about Martin Luther King Jr. They don't know that he was anti-Vietnam War. They don't know that he had massively socialistic ideas. He famously said that it's capitalism for the poor and it's socialism for the rich. So, now there was an interview done with him in 1965, and the interviewer asked, saying, "Do you feel it's fair to request a multi-billion-dollar program of preferential treatment for the Negro or for any other minority group?" And this is what King said. He said, quote, "I do indeed. Can any fair-minded citizen deny that the Negro has been deprived? A few people reflect that for the 2 centuries the Negro was enslaved and robbed of any wages, potential accrued wealth which would have been the legacy of his descendants. All of America's wealth today could not adequately compensate its Negroes for his centuries of exploitation and humiliation. It is an economic fact that a program such as I propose would certainly cost far less than any computation of 2 centuries of unpaid wages plus accumulated interest. In any case, I do not intend that this program of economic aid should apply only to the Negro. It should benefit the disadvantaged of all races." So really what he is advocating for, therefore, is socio-economical affirmative action. That is what it is, okay? So it's a mix, of course, of socio-economical positions. So he's saying it should be the disadvantage of all races. What he's not saying is that we shouldn't have affirmative action. What he's saying is we should have affirmative action for the disadvantaged of all races. Now keep in mind, affirmative action is only one of the key determining factors. It's not even a key determining factor. It's just one of the determinant factors. It's not like they see, they look through and they find black people, and if they're failing, they take them anyways. That's not how it works. It's one of the factors that goes into it. But what we need right now, because of the fact that the truth is that it is black people are disproportionately affected by socioeconomical problems. So therefore, if you have it benefit all of the races, you will also accommodate for the poor whites and poor Asians, whatever, but you will disproportionately, in effect, be helping blacks because they are disproportionately affected by the economic problems that come with poverty. So this is the best way to go about it. And people misconstruing Martin Luther King Jr. makes my blood boil, because the poor guy is rolling in his grave right now. Dave Rubin saying that Martin Luther King Jr. would be a conservative. The dude's a socialist. He supports affirmative action. He was anti-Vietnam War. Are you high on drugs, Mr. Rubin? V, why are you lying out of your teeth? Stop this madness, and I'm tired of it, and that's why I had to talk about this, because substantively, you cannot truly back up any of your misconstruing of the great Martin Luther King Jr. What's up, guys? It's Saul Hill here. You guys are watching The Progressive Voice. Make sure you guys click subscribe down below. We're fighting Donald Trump tooth and nail, and we need your help.